Olha lá a ponta da asa.
Talking about the Middle East and the Bush administration policies toward the Middle East. Okay, these are live pictures now of the Pentagon. You can see this thick black smoke. This is no trash fire, folks. So obviously something has happened at the Pentagon. This is a live picture of the Pentagon. This is not New York City.
Well, in speaking to people here at the Pentagon as they're being evacuated from the building, I am told by several people that there was, in fact, an explosion. I was told by one witness, an Air Force enlisted, senior enlisted man, that he was outside when it occurred. He said that he saw a helicopter circle the building. He said that it appeared to be a U.S. military helicopter and that it disappeared behind the building where the helicopter landing zone is, and that he then saw a fireball go into the sky.
How big was the plane?
It certainly looked larger. Every once in a while there's a flight path difference for smaller private planes that come in. This was not a small private-looking plane. It looked more like sort of a commuter-type plane.
And you said
it was sizable, yeah.
And then you said it was headed directly to the Pentagon.
Yeah, it was heading in the direction of the airport, and I thought, this plane is way too low, and there's no runway that it goes in that direction, and it didn't turn at all. And I just, as soon as I saw it, I knew it was way too low and not on a flight path that I'd ever seen before living here.
This is a live picture. We're just getting here. This is the firefighters battling the blaze at the Pentagon. Look.
So you can see the damage.
This is just going to be raw tape that Dave Statter and his crew are
just feeding into us.
You can see this apparent terrorist attack. A jet slammed into the Pentagon about 15, 20 minutes ago, the helipad side on 395. We have no word yet on casualties.
Yes, I was in the traffic on the 14th Street Bridge, right at the Pentagon, tied up going into town, and I heard this plane come over my head. It was really low.
What size plane?
It sounded like a small plane, but it was very, very low. And the next thing I know, there was this tremendous explosion as it hit the Pentagon. I looked over, and the smoke started coming up. Pieces of the plane and pieces of the Pentagon were falling onto the 14th Street, onto the Shirley Highway.
Okay, then let me go quickly to someone named Don Wright, who saw the plane crash into the Pentagon. Don, are you there in Washington?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, it was about 9:35, and I was looking out our 12th floor windows at 1600 Wilson Boulevard in Rosslyn, Virginia, and I watched this. It looked like a commuter plane, two-engine, come down from the south, real low, proceed right on and crashed right into the Pentagon.
Went directly into the Pentagon?
That is correct.
Looked like a deliberate act?
A deliberate act, sir.
And can you tell me what direction it came from, Don?
It came from the south.
Came from the south, up along the river, across the land?
It came from the south.
Okay, and did you happen to look at your watch? We thought it was just a little bit before 10 o'clock.
Well, I was watching ABC News, watching the Twin Tower, and about the time I saw the plane, I watched it come in very low over the trees, and it just dipped down, came down right over 395, right into the Pentagon.
And are you fairly sure that it was what we sometimes describe and recognize as a small commuter plane?
Yes, it was.
Good, Don. Thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
You're
Don
very
Wright,
welcome.
an eyewitness to the crash at the Pentagon.
As we were driving into town on 395, there was an exit. We were trying to get off the exit for the Memorial Bridge. Off to the left-hand side was a commercial plane that came in and was coming too fast and too low. And the next thing we saw was it go down below the side of the road, and we just saw the fire.
My name is Ed Hudson. I was coming to work at the Navy Annex. I was passing by Fort Myer, and I saw a large airliner-sized plane, roughly a 767-sized airliner. Very deep descent, approaching the Pentagon. As I didn't actually see the impact, but I did see, hear the blast, and saw the smoke rising from the crash later.
What size plane?
It was for me, it looked like a big size plane. It was definitely a passenger plane, and everything shook, and then all of a sudden you just heard this big explosion,
There was a sonic boom, and looking straight ahead, there was a jet, what looked to be an American Airlines jet, probably a 757, and it came screaming across the highway. It was Route 110 on the west side of the Pentagon. The plane went west to east, hit the west side of the Pentagon. Immediately, flames were streaming up into the air. There was white smoke. And then within seconds, thick black smoke. Everybody got out of their cars. People were shocked. Then there was another plane that was off to the southwest, and it made a beeline straight up into the sky and then angled off. And we weren't sure if that was going to come around and make another hit, or if it was just trying to get out of the way. That disappeared, and we didn't see it again.
I was just casually looking out the corner, out of the window. In the corner of my eye, I saw what looked to be maybe a 20-passenger corporate jet, no markings on the side, coming in at a shallow angle like it was landing right into the side of the Pentagon. And then a huge fireball, perhaps 5 times the height of the Pentagon. And I was on the 5th floor, so we just automatically just ran to the stairs and went down the fire escape.
You were where? You were inside the Pentagon?
No, I was across 395 from the Pentagon in an office tower with, direct view of the Pentagon.
And kind of describe the trajectory. The plane was aimed straight at the building?
It was aimed straight at the building. There was an angle, perhaps. It looked like it was landing. I couldn't tell if the landing gear was up or down. I don't know if it was taking off or landing, but it flew right into the side of the Pentagon, and almost immediately a huge fireball.
Mark Pettit, he was at the Pentagon. He was an eyewitness to what happened there today. Mr. Pettit, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us what you saw?
Yeah, I was actually sitting in traffic on Route 110 on my way to work. I work across the street. And it was an American Airlines plane that came in and hit the Pentagon. I believe it was a 737. I could be mistaken. It might have been a 707, but it was definitely a commercial plane.
Dave and I are standing here thanks to Heather Cabot with Harry Goad, who was the Space Policy and Acquisition Division of DOD. You were on the 5th floor, and you saw this thing coming?
I did.
Tell us what happened.
We were just watching the World Trade Center on the internet, and I turned around, and I'm at a very large window, and I turned around and looked, and I saw the silver 757, it looked like to me, veering from the registered course over the Potomac River, and it had no landing gear down, and it was coming very, very rapidly, and then it took a dive, maybe a couple of miles, maybe over Roslyn. It took a dive into this building, and I saw it coming, and I hollered, "Hit the deck," and everybody in the office hit the deck because they knew that the World Trade Center was on fire. So,
what can you tell us about the plane itself?
It was a Boeing 757, American Airlines, no question.
You say that there was a Boeing, and you say it was a 757 or 767. It's hard.
757.
757,
yeah,
which
American
of course
Airlines.
is American Airlines, one of the new generation of jets, and of course,
it was not. It was so close to me. It was like looking out my window and looking at the helicopter. It was just right there.
See this again? This is it's almost macabre to have a piece of something like that in your hands, something that is a part of such a national, international, world tragedy that took place on this day. And you and so many other motorists saw this thing happen today and were powerless to stop it. And you stopped your car and just stared, I guess.
And I would say that's only something you see only in the movies or Hollywood. It was, I cannot still believe my eyes that I saw something happen today.
You said you were nervous to do this interview, and it strikes me that you are probably still stunned and in shock from what you saw earlier today.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So tell me, what happened after that? How long did you stay before you left?
We spent a good 20 minutes by the Pentagon, then suddenly the police and military police start evacuating every person around there. And most of the cars, they had the front windshield broken because of the noise of the airplane. And just the time I turned my head to the left, it seems like the pilot or the person who was in charge of the airplane put full torque or throttle to the airplane.
It seemed like it was going faster as it went into it.
Exactly, yeah. It was, and especially, as I mentioned to you, I do fly small airplanes occasionally. And it looked to me as someone professional, especially when you maneuver and turn the airplane, it takes you a few seconds to put the wings equally settled.
But it didn't seem to you like that this wasn't a pilot who was struggling for control of the aircraft. This was someone who was heading it right in there?
Exactly, yeah, it was planned to be that way.
And all of a sudden I saw a plane come out the west side
coming, it was going real fast. It was so low. I said to myself, the plane is off of course, you know what I'm saying? Because it almost hit that gas station right there. It came close to there. And then it kept going, and I saw the impact when it hit the ground, hit the building. I mean, it slammed into it.
We were up there on the roof up there, and a guy yelled down that they bombed New York City. And I was just watching the White House just to see anything, if it could happen, what's going to happen. And next thing you know, from out of nowhere, you just saw a plane real low and just went straight, didn't come in from high, came in real low, and just the back end of the Pentagon just blew it up, big mushroom fire cloud. It's insane.
What happened, as we understand it, as eyewitnesses describe it, is that an American Airlines plane came in at an incredibly steep descent and hit the ground floor of the Pentagon on one of the wings. It completely destroyed the side of the Pentagon, all 6 stories of it, and as far as we know, is still completely embedded in it. The last I saw of the Pentagon, and there is smoke still rising, I don't know if you can see it over my shoulder, but the Pentagon is in the distance, smoke is still coming out of it. There are obviously a lot of casualties there, but the only small bright spot is that in fact it was an area of the Pentagon that had just been renovated, and a number of the offices were empty at the time.
I saw a plane going down, big plane, commercial liner type, going down full speed and just inside the side of the Pentagon.
Panicked employees evacuate by the thousands. The plane slices deep into the lower Pentagon, leaving a gaping black hole of destruction. The upper floors later collapse, burying hopes any more survivors will be found alive. At the opposite end of the Pentagon, well out of harm's way, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld was at his desk.
Secretary Rumsfeld was in his office at the time the plane hit the Pentagon and proceeded down towards the impact point in the building. It actually went outside the building and was helpful in getting several people that were injured onto stretchers.
It was 4 hours before the fire is brought under control and rescuers enter the building in search of more dead or possible injured. In a scene straight out of a war zone, F-16, scrambled by the National Guard, fly cover over the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. But the attacks appear over, the unspeakable deed done.
I sat at an intersection in South Arlington waiting for a red light to change green, responding on a dispatch call. As I was looking at the traffic light through my window, the plane that ultimately ended up here came through my field of vision, and I could tell from its pitch and its downward trend that it appeared it was going to crash.
Tell us what you saw. Tell us what you saw. Describe exactly what you saw.
In this area, we're used to seeing planes, okay, coming in low all the time. And this particular plane was awful low, and as we were coming down on a 395, it came across in front of us, and it was low, too low, we were seeing before, and we followed it in. It was just happened. It was really amazing.
Andre Hunter's sister, Brenda Kegler of Capitol Heights, Maryland, has been a civilian Army employee for 30 years.
I'm just wondering where she is, that's all, and I'm trying to figure out how does a plane hit the Pentagon? You know what I'm saying? The Pentagon, that's the defense, you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, I know it was a U.S. plane and all that, but I'm just saying, how do you let a plane, don't they have radar?